Good evening and welcome to News Channel 8. I'm Jerome Aegean, and here's some of the top stories we have for you tonight. An inmate dies at Golden Grove. St. Croix is the tourist #1 choice. We'll prove it. And Shaba ranks. That's next on News Channel 8. In our top story tonight, a 54-year-old man has died inside Golden Grove Prison on St. Croix. News Channel 8's Wes Small files this report.
It was Sunday morning, about 10 minutes after 7 o'clock, when prison officials, during a routine check, found 54-year-old Hector Cuencas unresponsive in his jail cell here at Golden Grove. Now, Hector has been on probation since October 30th. And we all know that the Bureau of Corrections just last month in October actually has been transferred from the Department of Justice to a private entity. And by the way, I just want to remind you that this is our only prison in the territory and is definitely overcrowded. And we're going to get back to some of those problems after we check in with Department of Justice spokesperson Sarah Lozama.
Saddened to report that 54-year-old Golden Grove Adult Correctional Facility detainee Hector Cuencas was found unresponsive in his cell around 7:10 a.m. on Sunday, November 8th. Corrections officials contacted 911 dispatch, requested an ambulance, which arrived at the facility about 7:20 a.m. After examination of Mr. Cuencas, transported to the One FUE Hospital for further treatment. However, he was pronounced dead upon arrival at about 8:10 a.m.
All right, and Ms. Lozama, that's all the information you have pending the autopsy?
Yes, the investigation into his death is ongoing and will include the performance of an autopsy to determine the official cause of death. Mr. Cuencas was a detainee who arrived at the facility on October 30th of this year for a violation of his probation.
Right. And can you divulge why he was in there in the first place?
He was charged in June of 2006 with disobeying a lawful order. A warrant was issued for his arrest this August for disobeying an order, and he was arrested subsequent to that and brought to the facility on violation of probation.
Thank you, Sarah. Now, like I said, the Bureau of Corrections has had a private entity now since that deal went through since October the 1st. Now, since 1986, this prison in particular, Golden Grove, has been under a federal court order, that to improve conditions here. Now, I don't have to tell you, this is not the first inmate to die in his cell, and we'll have to figure out why with the autopsy, but I could tell you about other problems as well existing here in Golden Grove, like inmates not receiving their medical supplies or not seeing the doctor, period. Corrupt correction officers, and that leads to a multiple of things, like drugs getting in, cell phones, laptops, all kind of contraband gets through this prison. I can also tell you that there's sexual activities going on here with the correction officers and the inmates themselves. Also about the fact that new correction officers in training have complained to their supervisors and managers that, yes, some of their own supervisors has been attempting to have sex with them while on the job and harassing them sexually, leading to the fact that some correction officers have since resigned, some of those recruits. I know this firsthand. Also, we can tell you that other conditions exist here at this prison. I can certainly tell you about the situation that This place is just overcrowded. Remember, St. Thomas doesn't have a jail. They just have a holding or an annex, if you will. So all of their prisoners have to be housed here as well. And I have to tell you, that has to put some animosity between inmates. So there you have it. We have 54-year-old Hector Cuecas, who was found dead in his cell Sunday morning. You just heard from Sarah Lazama. The autopsy reports are pending. Here at Golden Grove, I'm Wes Small for News Channel 8.
And in other news, the Virgin Islands has lost a true giant. Henry Kimmulman, former U.S. ambassador to Haiti, has died at the age of 88. Kimmulman was also an outstanding businessman and philanthropist. News Channel 8's Lee Carl takes a look at his life.
I'm taking this time, normally I don't do a personal kind of thing, except the man I'm going to talk about, I knew personally. He was Henry Kimmulman. He died at age 88 in his Palm Beach home with his family around him. He and his wife were philanthropists and gave money to start the Charlotte Kimmulman Cancer Center. This is basically for some of the young people who didn't know him. He was a friend of Roy Snyder when Roy was the governor and the health commissioner, and they were all part of making this Charlotte Kimmulman Cancer Center happen. For me, he was my boss at the VI Hotel, bringing me back from New York along with Elliot Fishman, and I acted as master of ceremonies up there, and later started my studio up there, in which I trained Addie Otley and a number of people. Anyway, now that I've gotten that off my chest, I want to mention that Henry Kimmulman, who was a former ambassador to Haiti, by the way, VI businessman, local philanthropist, died Monday at his West Palm Beach, Florida home after a brief illness. Along with him, Charlotte and the 3 children were by his side. He was making contributions to the community foundation of the Virgin Islands. He came to the territory in the 50s. Career highlights include his service at the helm of the West Indies Corporation from 1969 to 1980, his service as chairman, chief executive officer of Island Block, and also president of the Virgin Isle Hilton Hotel, or the VI Hotel at that time. He was also director of the executive committee for Diners Club, served on the board of American Hotel Association, received appointments under former U.S. Presidents John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, Jimmy Carter. He was the first U.S. ambassador to receive Haiti's highest civil honor, the Grand Cross of Honor and Merit. So I offer my personal condolences, along with many others who knew Henry Kimmulman and the things he did for cruise ships, for tourism, for Haiti, and of course for the U.S. Virgin Islands. In St. Thomas, Lee Carl for News Channel 8.
Well, it's a little early, but here's your weekly Crime Stoppers report with News Channel 8's Wes Small.
Thanks a lot, Jerome. We're doing Crime Stoppers one day early. Normally we do it on Wednesdays, but since tomorrow is Veterans Day, we want to hail up all the veterans out there, men and women, that's for sure. We want to free up tomorrow so that we could show you the parade tomorrow. Let's get right to it then and get to St. Croix as we're looking for some information on our last homicide. You remember that? That involved 23-year-old Isaiah Filbert. Remember on November 2nd? That was the 19th homicide of the year. We want to tell you that many of the victims were males under the age of 25, just like Mr. Filbert. That was the homicide we had in Upper Love last week. Please help stop this carnage. If you have any information or you know who was involved in any of these unsolved homicides, like the tragedy that happened to Mr. Filbert, then you need to come forward so detectives can find these killers and bring closure to the many families affected by these deaths and tragedies. Remember, if they come for me tonight, they're going to come for you tomorrow. All right, let's go to St. John. Police are requesting assistance in solving a daylight burglary that occurred in the area of Enid on October 20th. That's when a large amount of jewelry was taken, plus clothing and an iPod and other electrical equipment. If you have any information on this burglary or the whereabouts of the stolen items, please give us a call. Finally, let's take it to St. Thomas, where the VIPD are requesting your assistance in solving a homicide that occurred on Halloween, October 31st at about 9:20 in the area of Anna's Retreat. That's when we had a male victim who was shot in his stomach, and he died later subsequently of his injuries. If you have any information that might help solve this killing, please call immediately. One more time, 1-800-222-TIPS, 1-800-222-8477. All operators are bilingual. All your information is confidential, and most important, your name, will be anonymous. I'm Wes Small. That is your early Tuesday Crime Stopper report for News Channel.